No matter how dark it got, FarmShare was there to offer hope and life. FarmShare is here to help Florida recover and to make sure that no matter what, no person goes hungry and no food goes to waste. Join us.
My name is Stephen Shelley and I'm the CEO of FarmShare. FarmShare was founded in 1991 and is currently the largest independent food bank in the entire state of Florida. We have 8 regional warehouses strategically located throughout the entire state of Florida to allow us to move food and feed the entire state from Pensacola to Key West. FarmShare's headquarters is in Homestead with satellite warehouses in Florida City, Pompano Beach, Oakland Park, Palm Beach County, Palatka, Jacksonville, and Quincy. In addition to our own physical warehouse location, FarmShare also has statewide partnerships with other large-scale independent regional food banks in key parts of Florida that we partner with to feed persons in need where we don't currently have a warehouse. This partnership includes delivering multiple semi-truckloads of food products to these partners weekly. FarmShare also maintains additional partnerships with nearly 2,000 local food pantries, soup kitchens, church organizations, and other not-for-profit food distribution entities. The backbone of our distribution system is our fleet of semi-trucks, box trucks, and semi-trailers that we use to acquire and distribute food daily. In total, FarmShare has over 55 such vehicles. FarmShare has a team of employees that are focused on coordinating food pickups and deliveries to other warehouses and donors throughout the state of Florida and beyond. FarmShare's mission and founding principle is that no person goes hungry and no food goes to waste. This was the inspiration for FarmShare's founder, Patricia Robbins, who watched firsthand as dump truck after dump truck left local farmers market and headed to a local landfill full of blemished but otherwise healthy and nutritious produce. Essentially, the grocery store chains and suppliers deemed these dump trucks full of produce trash simply because it wasn't pretty or didn't fit neatly in the standard size grocery store packaging. Patricia was determined to find a way to capture this underutilized produce and use it to feed the state of Florida. 30 years later, what started out as a simple idea turned into a groundbreaking program that is duplicated by food banks nationwide, and as a result, FarmShare has distributed more than 120 million pounds of food statewide annually. Of this total, more than 30% is fresh fruits and vegetables. Last year, FarmShare distributed over 40 million pounds of produce products from Pensacola to Key West. One of the biggest keys to FarmShare's success over the last 30 years is its relationship with Florida farmers. These relationships form the backbone of FarmShare's original food distribution network. During the winter months, South Florida has been the historical breadbasket for the rest of the United States, producing specialty crops such as beans, squash, corn, tomatoes, cabbage, lettuce, eggplant, and other crop varieties. FarmShare's location in Homestead meant that it was well positioned to capitalize on the abundance of produce being grown around it by local farmers. Nearly 40% of crops that are planted never make it to the end consumer and end up in a landfill or being plowed back under by the farmer in the field. Not only does this lead to large amounts of food waste and generation of environmentally unfriendly methane gases, but it also costs farmers additional monies that affect their bottom line. This is where FarmShare comes in. FarmShare is able to acquire these food products from the farmers directly and save them from having to pay a dump fee, or as well as paying for fuel, expensive fuel at this point, to replow that product back into their fields. Additionally, the farmer is able to get a tax deduction up to 2 times the cost of goods sold and carry that tax deduction forward up to a period of 5 years. This is beneficial to the farmer because maybe in the year in which they donated the crop they were having a bad year, but 5 years from now or over the next 5 years they have very successful years. They're able to carry this tax deduction forward and decrease the ultimate revenue and bottom line and keeps more money in their ultimate pocket. This is a win for the farmer, a win for the environment, and most importantly, a win for hungry people. So now that we have successfully rescued these food products, what do we do with it? FarmShare has 3 primary ways in which we distribute our food to persons in need. Direct community food distributions to the hungry, distribution through our network of partner agencies, and distribution to regional partner drop sites. FarmShare is best known for its community food distribution events that take place throughout Florida and focus on food desert communities that may not have nearby access to healthy or nutritious food products. This method consists of bringing one of FarmShare's box trucks or semi-trucks directly to these communities and setting up local food distribution sites. Each distribution serves anywhere from 500 to 1,000 households and distributes 15,000 to 40,000 pounds of food. Last year, FarmShare carried out more than 800 of these events statewide. This method also works very well for disaster relief operations. Approximately 10% of FarmShare's food is distributed annually using this method. The primary way FarmShare distributes its food is through its network of nearly 2,000 partner agencies. These are local food pantries, church organizations, and other not-for-profit food distribution entities. This also includes our regional large-scale partner drop sites. Last year, 90% of the food FarmShare distributed was done using this method. FarmShare also has some unique programming that it has created focusing on feeding children, seniors, food desert communities, and using the power of food to reduce crime and connect law enforcement with the communities they serve. One of FarmShare's most innovative programs is its Community Crime and Policing program. This program originated from a partnership that we developed with the United States Attorney's Office approximately 5 years ago. In that particular partnership, the idea was to see whether or not food being distributed on a recurring basis in a high crime community could ultimately reduce the crime rates in that community and the surrounding areas. Over a period of 1 year, we tested this theory, and what we found was, yes, using the power of food and having food distributions within a community on a reoccurring basis did in fact bring the crime rate down. But the takeaway was, as part of this program, we had utilized law enforcement as the face of these food distributions, and the takeaway was that by utilizing law enforcement as the face, the relationship between the community and the law enforcement was bridged. That relationship was stronger than it ever had been. And ultimately, that was what we decided to launch as a pilot program in South Florida, and ultimately we've now since spread that to other regions across the entire state. And what we found is that it's gotten rave reviews. Ultimately, police chiefs and sheriff's offices have found this to be a great way in which for their law enforcement officers to have direct communication and contact with the communities that they're serving and make sure that it kind of bridges that gap. And additionally, this was launched back during the original Ferguson unrest and the George Floyd riots. And we found that this was a great way, there was a need for the community, not only here in Florida, but nationwide, to find a way to bridge that gap and build better communications and relationships. And this program did that, used the power of food creatively to ultimately not only feed hungry people, but also find a solution to a national-wide problem. FarmShare's current successful food recovery and food waste prevention efforts must also prepare to adapt to future challenges that are on the horizon. These include rising inflationary prices on gas, utilities, rent, truck acquisition, truck repair, and labor. These rising operational costs will make it harder to rescue the same quantity of food or increase the food rescue without additional resources of funding to offset these rapidly increasing expenses. Another major challenge to acquiring fresh fruits and vegetables in the future is the disappearance of local farms throughout Florida. Each year, due to rising farming and land costs and in competition from Mexico and other countries that have cheaper labor and less stringent growing regulations, many long-term farmers are calling it quits. Over the last 10 years, this trend has increased exponentially. Many of these farmers are retiring, starting plant nurseries, or selling their land for premium prices to developers. As a result, there are less farms, which in turn means less crops being grown and less excess food to be donated to food banks. This continuing trend could have a long-term effect on the current stream of produce that is available to food banks in Florida. Additionally, the current uptrend in the demand and popularity for ugly produce by for-profit companies will also continue to decrease the availability of produce that is donated to food banks. Although the utilization of the ugly produce is a good thing in terms of eliminating food waste and also helps the bottom line of the farmer, it will ultimately hurt access to this product for food banks and the hungry people they serve. Another major challenge related to food waste, which doesn't directly fall under FarmShare's operational guidelines or our mission, is consumer food waste. I think that more than 50% or almost nearly 50% of all food waste is at the consumer level. This happens more in developed countries than, say, in undeveloped countries, and we see it less with our clientele and people that are involved in our services because they're less likely to go out and overspend in the grocery store and have food products that go to waste that they don't eat because they're living on a subsistence manner where they need all the food that they have and they consume all that food. But ultimately, that's a big issue, is figuring out a way to educate the average consumer so that they go to the grocery store and ultimately don't overbuy. They don't buy something that they put in their pantry that then they spoil, throw away, and then buy again if they're not consuming it, and they're wasting that food that could be purchased by other persons or ultimately not end up in the landfill and contribute to the methane gas problem that food waste ultimately occurs nationwide. In closing, FarmShare is honored to have been asked to be part of this year's Food Waste Prevention Week and thankful for your efforts to highlight the efforts of food banks nationwide to feed persons in need each year. We are also thankful for your efforts to highlight the many ways in which to help eliminate unnecessary food waste and the benefits that can be gained by our environment, farmers, food banks, and most importantly, those who are hungry. I hope that you have found this presentation interesting and informative, and I look forward to answering any questions you might have. You can also learn more about FarmShare by visiting our website at farmshare.org.